Prime of strength.
What's up, YouTubers? This is Bill Mack here with Pro Wrestling Unleashed, and today's episode is going to be the Raw wrap-up for September 19th, 2016. This week's edition of Raw's results. I'm Bill Mack, of course, and here to bring you the reports of what happened on Raw. I hope you subscribe to my channel, and and I hope you enjoy my commentary, my results, and for those of you who haven't watched it, get a quick exam and get a quick description from me on what happened on Raw in case you missed it, or just need a recap of it. Keep it very short, to the point, what it's all about. No extra talking and stuff here needed. I give you just what you want to hear and need to hear. So we'll get right into it. Raw wrap up 9/19/16. So since the show, beginning of the show, Roman Reigns came out at the beginning, top of the show, and he started to talk, and before he really could say anything, the Raw commissioner, Stephanie McMahon, went out there, and of course, the GM from Raw, Mick Foley, he made his way out as well. They get a little bit of back and forth squabble over the stuff that happened from the previous week. And Mick Foley ends up putting Rusev and Seth Rollins, which were the two, the people who interfered in last week's main event. Remember what happened last week, in a match against each other. And also, he created a matchup for that and said that Roman Reigns would face later on in the night Rusev for the U.S. Championship. He was going to face Kevin Owens in a non-title matchup tonight on Raw, but he was going to face at Clash of Champions. Rusev was going to be facing him he was going to face Rusev for the U.S. Championship. So I guess they're going back to the storyline with Roman Reigns and Rusev and play off this Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens feud for a while, which I think is the right thing to do. I don't think putting him right back into main pictures is the ideal thing to do. Have a good program with him in the U.S. Championship, and then put him up into heavyweight status, because I don't even know if you remember him even winning the U.S. title. I know Dean had it, and I don't think he's had the U.S. or the Intercontinental title, so it'd be good for him to have that mid-card title, kind of like John Cena, when John Cena took that title. It'd be good to have Roman Reigns get that title and try to use it for a little while, kind of build himself back up. Maybe the fans will cheer for him. He needs this kind of program to get the fans behind him. Or because if this doesn't work, he's not really going to have any other way of getting the fans over unless he turns heel. And Vince wants to push him as a face, and he's trying all that he can do to get Roman Reigns over as a face. But as we've been seeing, it hasn't been successful as of yet. So he's going to face Rusev at Clash of Champions, which I think is this coming Sunday, if I'm not mistaken. And maybe I'll do a prediction show for you. Maybe have it out by Friday, if at the earliest, for that, or maybe a little bit sooner. Just depends on what content I can get up between now and then, if any. But I might do a prediction show of what I think will happen at Clash of Champions, which usually doesn't take that long to do. Especially when I'm doing the Raw pay-per-views myself. Bullet B. Brandon, used to see us do wrestling, Team B wrestling show, but since we've had the draft, I do Raw, he covers SmackDown. So then if there's pay-per-views, we'll just Raw, I do them. If they're just SmackDown, he does them. If they're combined together, we both will try to do a results show at the end of the pay-per-view with both shows being represented. So if you've been wondering what's been going on, that's what's kind of been going on with us. So check out his channel for the SmackDown report. I have the Raw wrap-up. So we'll get right back into it. We see here that Seth Rollins ends up facing Rusev, and both men end up fighting on the outside, and the match ends up coming to a double countout. And it ended up being a draw, and Rollins ends up hitting Rusev with a crossbody. It was a brutal match, and Rollins gets on top of the announce table, which is now located right by the stage, and jumps off and lands on Rusev, and Rusev is all laid out like he doesn't know what to do. but as we see it, that's basically what happens with him. So, that ends up, and then we see backstage Dana Brooke is back, and her and Charlotte, I guess, are back together, and Mick Foley ends up basically talking, and she's like, well, look, Charlotte tries to make a point to Mick that both Sasha and Bailey shoulders were both down when that pin last week. Remember, as you remember, Sasha ended up pinning Bailey after Bailey was going to pin Dana Brooke. And so then Dana suggests that those two should fight each other, and the winner should face Charlotte for the title, for the women's Raw Women's Championship. So Foley says he has a good idea. He says, why not make it all three? Why not make it Charlotte versus Bailey versus Sasha Banks for a triple threat? Wow, very innovative WWE. I mean, wow, they love their triple threat matches. I mean, heaven forbid they have a one-on-one match. So, so what we do is we see, Foley and Sasha gets really, not Sasha, Charlotte gets really upset, and she pushes Brooke down, Dana Brooke down. So we see more tension there. I'm surprised she came back to her, but they're just trying to build Dana Brooke and maybe turn her face, and they're having to give her a good reason to doing it. And why not do it against Charlotte, which is I guess, the ultimate female heel on the Raw women's division. So. Up next, folks, we see a rematch of sorts. They've been pushing Braun Strowman here the last few weeks, and they've been giving him jobber matches. As they have brought back the jobber matches, is what they were talking about. And he faces Sin Cara. Now, remember, Sin Cara gave him a tough go at it out of everybody that he has basically faced. And so we see a rematch of that. But as the same has been going along, no such same results here. Is basically Strowman wins. Sin Cara went to jump on him, and he caught him, and he hit a running power slam for a win. So Braun Strowman yet again shows his dominance. Another squash match against Sin Cara. I guess, how strong can you make the man look when all he's doing is facing jobbers in it? So up next, we see a tag team match that was made between Dana Brooke and Charlotte versus Sasha Banks and Bailey by Mick Foley. Dana ends up, the match comes to an end when Dana ends up tripping. She ends up tripping Bailey when Bailey was going for the finish, and that allowed Charlotte to hit the big boot and get a win. I mean, she kicked her hard too. When they get kicked, I'm surprised they don't get kicked. So I had knocked senseless by those kicks, but that's what happened to her, is that she got kicked with a big boot. I knew it was a 3 count. I knew there was no way she was going to kick out of that, even though she didn't hit, the figure 8 on her. I knew that was the end of it, because that kick was a hard kick. Up next, we have seen the still packaging of Bo Dallas. Believe in Bo is what he's saying. He's coming out nice and everything, and then when the match starts, he ends up basically angry and aggressive until he pins him and wins, and he's facing another jobber, and this jobber is no typical jobber. From what I'm gathering from what they said last night, was that I think he was Michael P.S. Hayes' grandson, but for whatever reason his name was Gary Graham. That's what he was going by, and he ends up hitting the rolling cutter on this dude. Fans were shouting during the matchup, let's go jobber, which was totally making Bo Dallas mad. And that tells you then everybody knows what a jobber is, because they were chanting, let's go jobber. Didn't have to know his name, knew just what he was. So Bo Dallas, with his 3rd straight win, hits the rolling cutter on Gary Graham for the 1-2-3, and we are still Bo leaving in Bo at 3-0. So but up next, we're winding down, thank God, with his best of 7 matches between Cesaro and Sheamus. The winner shows who's the clear dominant one, and the winner gets a future shot at the Universal title. I'm so tired and so glad these matches are winding down between Sheamus and Cesaro. The moment they put Sheamus up 3-0, I knew it was going to be a best of 7, because you're going to let Cesaro one way or the other come back, and now he's tied it up. He ends up, showing he got the pin after hitting the Gotch neutralizer on Sheamus for the 1-2-3, and he ends the series is now at 3-3, and the seventh, the final match will come right at this coming Sunday at the Clash of Champions Raw themed pay-per-view. So we look to seeing that matchup and see who is the clear cut between Cesaro and Sheamus. We see Chris Jericho. Jericho is into the ring, and he's complaining about Mick Foley. And of course, you knew this is going to happen sooner or later. Foley's going to be doing some things, but then you're going to have Jericho's complaining, the typical heel, and he's basically reading off all these different things he has wrong with Foley and whatnot. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, we see Enzo and Kaz come out there, and they start cutting a promo on him, and then we see that they were as they started talking. Then we see basically the Shining Stars come out there, and then when they were started talking, then the New Day came out there, and then Gallows and Anderson came out there and started showing up. So then you have all these wrestlers in the ring and what's going on. So we just wait to see what happens there with that situation, as they have like a big old tag matchup now, where you have the New Day versus Enzo and Cass versus Sami Zayn. They defeat Luke Gallows and Anderson and the Shining Stars and Jericho after Enzo ends up hitting the Boom Shakalaka with the assist from Big Cass onto Epico for the 1, 2, 3, and your winners, the faces, get the win in this matchup. Then we see Foley come down. Foley starts giving this long promo talking about the cruiserweights like they'd never seen them before. And folks, you remember the cruiserweights was in WCW. That's how come they got Rey Mysterio. That's how they come out, like Jericho. All these guys like that. They were all in that division, WCW. That's where they got to start, and especially Rey Mysterio. But they're redoing it now because they've got to push their own brand to the Cruiserweight Championship, and they introduced different ones. They had 4 competitors basically in a matchup. So the Cruiserweights were making their long-awaited Raw debut. That division being exclusively only to Raw. And they entered 4 of the competitors. We see the competitor Rich Swann. We've seen the Mexico wrestler. His name was Gran Metalik, I believe is how he pronounced his name. We've seen Cedric Alexander, which I think he's from Charlotte, North Carolina, if I ain't mistaken. And Brian Kendrick, of course, which he's 37. But, Brian Kendrick's been wrestling a long time. He trains a lot of people. So good to see Brian Kendrick in a WWE ring again. There is a fatal 4-way for the number 1 cruiserweight matchup. All 4 of these guys facing each other. We see Cedric hit the lumbar check on Metalik, but then we see Kendrick basically locked in the captain's hook to get Cedric to tap, and Kendrick ends up going on to face T.J. Perkins, who is your first cruiserweight champion of the new era at Clash of Champions. So we see T.J. Perkins, which is a cruiserweight champion, taking on Brian Kendrick at Clash of Champions for the cruiserweight title. So congratulations to Brian Kendrick. Up next, we have the long-awaited match Mick Foley made earlier in the night between Roman Reigns and Kevin Owens. Not only was this your typical non-title match, which Stephanie made it, Foley made it a steel cage match. And so they basically are going out there back and forth with each other, and that was good because we see that it ended up a good bout going back and forth, many near falls, many near climbing out of the ring and climbing over the top, and like they typically do in your typical cage match. But it all come down to that Reigns somehow ended up beating Kevin Owens on the other side of the ring to the floor, just barely. So we end up seeing that Roman Reigns ends up winning it, and then afterwards we see Rusev coming out and attacking Roman Reigns. He brings a chain to the ring, chains the door together where nobody can get in, and he and Kevin Owens are pounding on Reigns. Reigns ends up getting an accolade put on him, and Owens, and they ended up beating him down. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, we see Seth Rollins come out. Seth Rollins makes his appearance. He runs down, and Rusev's like, "You can't get in." It's locked. He jumps straight up on the ring, folks, climbs up the side of it like a spider monkey. It knocks Owens down, knocks Rusev down. He stands up top and does a flying body press across both guys, and he ends up in the corner. Everybody's basically in the ring to end the show. So, what does this mean? Maybe next week you might see a part of the Shield reunite. Maybe you might see Rollins and Reigns tag. Who knows? Like I said, it just depends on what happens out of Clash of Champions. Like I said, I will have an update for you. So, folks, that's how Raw ended the show. I hope you enjoyed my short my shortness to the video and understanding of it. I hope you liked it. And like I said, if you like my videos, just subscribe to my channel. If you have any suggestions, leave me some comments. And because I'll do anything I can for my subscribers. And if you love wrestling, hey, this is the place to be. This is where I do Raw. So you all take care. And until like I said, I will try to do a Clash of Champions prediction show, so look for that coming about the end of the week. So until next time, this is Bill Mack. Take it easy.